What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Get Weird with me, your host, Brittany Barbieri. Well, another week. And lately, the climate in the paranormal and in the cryptid space and in the UFO space has been, well, I'm going to say crazy. Okay? I honestly am just kind of taking a moment, I would say, taking a breath from it. A lot of people don't know that I've been in this professionally for 23 years now. I never got into it because I wanted to be TV famous or Insta famous. It was something that I have been infatuated with since I was a very little kid. Growing up, Irish Catholic. Youngest of 7, growing up in the Rocky Mountains of Estes Park, Colorado. Growing up on an exotic animal ranch. I knew exactly what cryptozoology was before it became this monster hunting craziness that it is today. It was never intended to be that. Paranormal, the same. There were people really trying to understand the supernatural world. That's where it started. It was a very deep study in trying to understand the process of life after death. And it was very cool to see in the very early years of early investigations into cases like this. And then, of course, the UFO space has, well, decades of history, if not more. And, as a ufologist as well, it's another area of my study and expertise is in that space, and understanding files, understanding language, understanding the process, understanding what a UFO could be, an unidentified, now it's UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, because it's lumped into anything aerial, basically. Anything in the sky could be a UAP. But growing up, it was always UFO, unidentified flying object, flying saucer, so on and so forth. So again, this was a passion of mine, and I have been blessed along the way of people asking for me to make appearances with my thoughts and my theories. And I am very thankful for that. But it is a profession of mine. It is something that I admire. It is something that I love and I do every day when no one's looking. And that's really what matters. So I don't care, what people may think or say. It is a passion of mine. This field is a passion of mine and I love it. But to see a lot of division happening and a lot of hate happening and a lot of I'm better than you and you're better than me, or the fakers out there, they're like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. We need to catch up. We need to do stuff together. And I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds great because you're awesome. Crickets. I'm like, what the fudge? I don't understand. Don't be fake. Don't be fake. Just be a good person. I have some of the dearest pair of friends all over the United States, actually. And I know that at any moment I could text any of them and be like, hey, it's been forever. How are you? I miss you. Because I'm a friend. They're good people. I support them. I've got friends in Virginia City that are kicking butt up there with the crazy stuff going on. And I love Virginia City, by the way. That is one of my favorite spots. But I also don't see the paranormal the same way most people see the paranormal. I don't always like sharing how I see the fields that I work in. If I truly was to sit back and discuss how I look at Bigfoot, it's not the way that mainstream media is pushing Bigfoot, that he's interdimensional and he's got alien powers and he makes people sick. That is a theory. That's their theory. That's not my theory. And that is because I grew up around exotic animals. I grew up seeing primates. I grew up understanding that aspect of an animal and being and learning and observing and working hands-on with a lot of exotic animals. You learn other things. And my brother's a wildlife animal behavioralist, and he has spent, I don't even want to mention how many decades he's been doing this. And so there's a lot that we grew up in, and I'm the youngest of 7. I've observed a lot. There's a lot that I've learned over the years. And my main passion and profession was being a field researcher and a researcher, because for me, there's always a true story hidden within the legend or the lore that's being passed around. So what is the truth? And in some cases, the truth is really the legend. The legend is true, 100%. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to see that. And I bring a lot of science into the work that I do. And I bring a lot of, I have to bring a lot of logic into the work that I do, because sometimes the proof is right there in front of us, whether it be in an archive or in a newspaper or even some of the things I've dug into are like actual audio recordings of journalists that would actually bring like the old tape recorders to record the person interviewing them. That's the kind of research I do. I don't go to Google to like go on blogs. Like there are a couple resources online through the internet that I can use that gets me to access points, archive, newspaper, things like that. But in some cases I have to request it. In some cases I have to go to a place and do the work and do the research and spend hours reading work after work, writing after writing. And, it's like a journalist, you got to get to the facts. You got to get to the truth. You got to get the information out from the person. That's basically what I do. And I just don't like that over the years, it's more and more people are, I don't know. I don't like the hate on hate. I really, really, really can't stand it. I don't like it. You don't know better. Nobody is an expert per se in these areas. Okay. We don't have a ghost sitting on our sofa that we're talking to every day, giving us all the ins and outs of tomorrow and what the afterlife is like and what really happens. And are there ghost children? Like, no, they don't freaking tell. We don't have that. So every day we create a new piece of equipment. We're trying to advance the field. We should be supportive of that. If somebody chooses to use a different piece of equipment than you use, who cares? If there's somebody that says, hey, I really like using my body as a receptor instead of a machine. Okay. Fine. Cool. I don't care. The mentality of the hate on hate has got to stop, in my opinion. And so today I'm stepping away from telling a traditional, researched ghost story, murder mystery, or even a Bigfoot case. Today is going to be completely different. I'm diving into a very weird case from the 1930s that, again, it's one that just is weird for the books. But it's the case of Jeff the Mongoose. And I don't know if you guys know this one or not. So let's get weird together on this one. Okay. So again, it's not a typical case. This one takes place. Well, I guess this is typical. It takes place in a home. But this one takes place inside the walls of the home of something that was listening and watching and talking to them. And not just making noise, but actually like having documented conversations. Okay. So again, we are talking about Jeff the Talking Mongoose. If you've heard this story, you know your history if you're into animal crazy stories. So in the 1930s, in a remote farmhouse on the Isle of Man. Now, I do want you to kind of put this in your head. We're talking, there's no neighbors close by. There's wind constantly hitting the house because you're on the Isle of Man, and it's very isolated. The isolation is a big issue here, okay, in this particular historical case. And this was where the Irving family lived, James, Margaret, and their daughter. And for a while, everything for them was normal. Everything seemed normal. And then one night, everything changed. They started hearing scratching on their walls, or actually, inside their walls of their home. So if you're living in the country, like I did, I grew up in the mountains for God's sakes. Then I lived in the country. I've always lived in the country. I was never a city person, never grew up in the city. We would drive to the city if we had to, but the country, the land, deep in the mountains, being away from everything is where we grew up. That's how we grew up. And I loved it. It was nestled away. But as you know, you're going to get rats and mice and rodents and squirrels and stuff inside your house and inside the walls. It happens in some cases, sometimes a cat. Just saying, it has happened. Just so you know. But lots of animals, even birds, sometimes will find a hole. They're building a nest and they'll fall down, and you got to kind of like help them out. Open a hole in the wall and get the bird out. But this was not necessarily the case, and this did not stay normal for very long. So the scratching then turned into something that started to respond back to these people. I mean, I really do feel bad for this family. So the first time it was like, oh, we're just hearing noise, probably a rodent. And then one day there was a voice from inside the walls. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't even stick around to like find out why I have a voice talking to me from inside my walls. I'd be just, bye, I'm out, peace out. It was like whispering, like, no, I'm not, what the fudge? Like, I'm not sticking around for this, right? So then that whispering, that voice, like whisper, distant whisper, then became a very clear, distinct voice. Okay. Not unclear or distant like the whispers were, like, oh, what is that? No. It was perfectly clear enough apparently for this family to understand. And the family claimed that the voice introduced itself. And when it did, it said, And I know what everyone's going to think of right immediately is that stupid meme. My name is Jeff. I'm not going to lie. I have thought that several times. But it was clear enough to basically say, my name is Jeff. Anyway, and it said something that would follow and basically lock this case into history forever. I am a mongoose. Okay, now if anybody knows what a mongoose is, it's this cute little carnivore animal. It looks like a ferret. It's not a ferret, but it looks like a ferret. And what's really funny is that they cannot mimic. They can't. Now here's the thing. They are extremely intelligent animals. They have been documented scientifically through different zoological studies that the mongoose themselves are they're very intelligent creatures. And they do try to understand, and they are very communicative. Well, I'm going to mess that word up, so let's not go there because I'm not having that moment. But very strong on communication within themselves, right? Like, so they're very understanding and clever creatures. But to have a mongoose mimic, as far as science knows, it is not confirmed that we've ever had a mongoose be able to mimic and have full conversations with anybody, okay? So this would surpass the intelligence. Now, if somebody said to me, oh, I had like an African gray or some type of parrot in my walls, I'd be like, oh, well, that makes 100% sense. Like, birds can have full-length conversations with people, plenty of those. I mean, we've had African grays, all types of different types of exotic parrots growing up that would literally have full conversations with you and still do. So, okay, obviously, what we think we know about a mongoose, this is not a mongoose, but they're saying that my name is Jeff is a mongoose. Said he's a mongoose, and if he is, he's a very clever one. I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, so moving into the next step, the next phase of this, originally it was like, oh my God, our house is haunted, right? Until the little guy was like, hey, my name is Jeff and I'm a mongoose. Okay. So now it's not haunting anymore. Now it's stepped into a whole other freaking weirder phase of this story. Jeff didn't just continue making noise. So he began to speak in full conversations and sometimes sang songs. I know this sounds ridiculous, people. This is true documentation. I'm going to get there. Okay. He recited things he shouldn't have known, like about really important things, including about the family. Repeated conversations after hearing them once. I wanted to make sure I wrote them down as points because apparently he hid inside the walls, but interacted constantly with this family. And this is the part that gets me really kind of weird. He wasn't just present, he had a personality, right? He's not just like a mongoose just chilling in he had a personality, and it was quoted saying that he was sometimes playful, he was sometimes helpful, but then sometimes he was just straight up unsettling, straight up, this isn't cool. I don't like this at all. Right. So then there was documentation where, and I this is kind of crazy for me, but where he was allegedly said that he would mock the family and sometimes even argue with them from inside the walls, claimed he could see everything that they were doing, which to me is freaking weird. And at one point, I guess he told them that I watch you all the time was what he was quoted saying. Now, I want you to let that sit in for a second. My brain is spiraling. And of course, at the very end of the episode, guys, I will give some what could it be? I always like to do. So I'm just going to continue telling you into the next phase of this horror of a story that is 100% true, by the way. Now, I don't know if it was a mongoose, but the story is true. For me, what always gets me is okay, if your house is haunted or you're dealing with an entity, you have the shadow figure in the corner of the house is talking to my child. This is not that. This is something that intelligently is apparently living in all of the walls of your home and watching and observing you all the flippin' time. Okay. Knows your routine, listens to your conversations, and then speaks back to you intelligently from the walls. Think about that. Think about that. I am Jeff is doing this to you. And it's not leaving. It's not going anywhere. So imagine trying to go to sleep knowing that something is living inside of your walls and it can talk to you whenever it wants. That's not paranormal. That's full-blown psychological warfare, right? And I know that there are some paranormal cases out there that leave you going, oh my God, those people, psychologically, I would have been done. This is one of those cases, right? So this is, again, another, let's level it up again, okay? So this story got out, of course, Okay, it's not like these people were just dealing with, no, when it got out, it spread like a wildfire. Journalists actually came to investigate this and documented it. Researchers showed up on the family's door. They're like, oh, we want to meet Jeff. People wanted to hear Jeff speak for themselves inside this house. And some even claimed, there were some researchers and some journalists that claimed that they did actually hear Jeff's voice from the walls, and confirming that these people were not crazy. Others that also came to research and report it, and also I think there was another famous journalist who had mentioned that this was just a hoax. And that's why when you kind of research into it today, it's labeled as more of a hoax case, or a misidentified or misunderstood case of what these people were really dealing with, because there was a few, I think there was like 2 or 3 prominent journalists that confirmed it was just a hoax. And of course, this is where the case kind of splits into multiple realities, and the story, it becomes more like stories that go into record. But again, there are actual records on this. There are actual interviews, written accounts, and reports done by all of these people that came. Those that claimed it was a hoax because nothing happened when there, and then others that came and they said that they heard Jeff talking and Jeff doing things and moving in the house. And again, this wasn't just some like whispered down lore from the Isle of Man, or some conversation that was happening in town as a legend. And they're like, hey, did you hear about what's happening over there at the farmhouse? Yeah. Did you know they have a talking mongoose? Oh, how much did they have to drink last night? Come on now. You know, we're talking about something that grabbed attention, and everybody's like, well, what's happening here? Because these people are being psychologically tortured by whatever is claimed to be living in their house. And this is all documented in real time. So here's where we're going to sit down and have a intellectual conversation on this, because this is where I have to go back and forth with myself. And immediately, I'm not going to lie, when I had first came across this story, I remember reading it and going, somebody was flipping living in their walls of their house and like was playing with them, like 100%, whole 100%. I was like, this is horrifying. Like moving into a home and somebody is like living in your attic and living in your walls of your home. Like that was what I believed. Like, and it took this thing or this person courage to finally be like, my name is Jeff. And then it's like, well, I don't want to say that I'm a person, so I'm going to say I'm a mongoose. Yeah, that works. Like that was where I went into my head about this. And then it was like, well, this is my family now, so you're mine. Like, I don't know, a possession thing. That's what I thought. But if you look into the theories that are actually written down or talked about or discussed to other researchers who have read into this case, like I have, they basically say they think it could be a hoax. One of the main theories out there is a hoax, that the daughter was creating Jeff's voice. Now that's great and all, okay? She must be a fantastic ventriloquist, okay? Because, and you have to think about this now. This went on for years. This wasn't just like a 6-month thing where she was just having fun with her parents and wanted some publicity. This went on for years. So people said, oh, it's imagination and isolation, and she was doing stuff to entertain herself and entertain her family. Folks, if she did that, that is some commitment. Give that girl a round of applause, because, well, hot dog, you know? I mean, come on now. So the second one was, could it have been an actual real unknown animal? An unknown species of animal, like people have claimed and have said, you know, what if it's an animal that really is good at mimicking? It's not a mongoose, but it thinks it is. Possible. An animal that we don't know, that can talk in full sentences, mimic human speech, and engage in full conversation. That, to me, is very unlikely for a type of animal like a mongoose. Parrot, like I said, sure. Cats, I could totally see a cat. Freaking cats. They can talk. I don't care what anybody says. Those little devils. If you own cats, you know what I'm talking about. So that one, you know, for me on that theory, I'm on the fence on that one. I'm personally ruling out an animal. For me personally. Not for you guys. I'm saying personally, that's my opinion on that matter, is I'm going to rule out an animal, because I'd still want to throw in the possibility that this could be something supernatural happening as well. as well as a person physically living in their walls. I mean, I just can't get that out of my head because this isn't like a typical ghost story and this isn't a cryptid. I mean, I guess it's sitting somewhere between or sitting on the line, right? And so honestly, we know that it was intelligent, but it wasn't a human. It's basically saying it's an animal. It's calling itself a mongoose, which is so random. Why would it say it's a mongoose? Like, that's the part that gets me. And it's an uncomfortable case. It's an uncomfortable case because it sits on the line of the reality of, do we just not really understand the supernatural world around us? Do we really not understand that just maybe there are other animals out there that can have full conversations? I mean, I know that's crazy. It's even weird for me to say out loud, but I'm willing to tiptoe the idea. Yeah, who cares? You know, I've seen stranger things, to be quite honest with you. So I'm going to throw it back at you as my listeners. Okay, because here's the thing. At the end of the day, people love to label everything as a monster. Oh my God, it's a monster. Bigfoot's a monster. Everything's a monster. They're monster hunters. Oh, for God's sakes, if I hear that one more time. The only monster out there, folks, are people. I hope you guys know that. There's animal worlds. There are no monsters. The only real monsters out there are freaking human beings, people. And I don't mind saying that on my podcast. It is the truth. That is why growing up, I've always wanted to interact and be around people or animals and not people, was because people are the quickest things to just do the most horrific things. And nope. People are the real monsters. Remember that. And make sure you educate your kids about that as well. There are a lot of monsters out there just waiting. That's a time for another podcast. So again, when it comes to the unknown, something like this, you can't really hunt, right? Can't really hunt it. You just have to kind of like sit in your home. I mean, I'd be blasting holes in my walls, to be quite honest with you. But you have to stop and think about the psychological warfare on this family. And they probably did put holes in their walls, to be quite honest with you. But that something is observing us. So when we think about the unknown or the supernatural world around us, you do need to stop and think and go, what is observing me that I can't see? What is watching me that I can't interact with? Like, because it's on a different plane or a different line of time, you know. And I've done some quantum physics myself in the world of learning that so that I could better understand certain aspects, the more of the scientific aspect of what the supernatural could be in line with our reality. And when you go down that path, it gets really scary, but it gets exciting too, for me anyway. And quantum physics, you know, I've spent so many hours on quantum physics trying to learn different studies. And let me tell you what, by the end of it, my brain is like hurting because I am really jacking it up on some type of strange steroid that it's like, this all makes sense. Pump it up. Like it's so exhilarating. Like if you want to, it's out there. Quantum physics books are phenomenal to read, and the research in them is fantastic when you can easily apply them to the fields in which you work in, which is what I like to do. So, I mean, honestly, guys, it's what do you think? I mean, was Jeff just a story created in pure isolation by this family or the daughter, perhaps? Or was there something really in the walls, listening and speaking back to them? I mean, if you've never heard this case before, please, I encourage you to go look into it. There's enough out there for you to decide for yourself that you can look into. There's a couple of resources online that you can read into in regards to Jeff the Mongoose. And I do highly recommend it. It's quite it's just interesting. And it's 1930s, you know, I don't know. Just, it's crazy to me. These stories, these are the stories that people go, oh, it keeps me up at night. That doesn't keep me up at night. It actually just makes me go, well, I guess it does, but it doesn't keep me up at night to be like, oh my God, I'm so scared. No, it keeps me up going, well, crap. Now I got to look into this because this doesn't make sense. And I got to look into this because, like, you know, it's like when somebody sends me the message, like, why do ghosts always have to come in like white robes and stuff? Why don't I always get like the, hey, it's Brittany bitch at 3 a.m. in the morning? I love that meme. That's hilarious because it's so true. There's only like a certain, you know, kind of period of time in certain cases, not all cases. And I've done that research too. Let me tell you what, not in all cases, but in the majority that you see in mainstream, it's always like the same kind of structured person, same clothing, same everything. And I have my theories on that as well. but I will keep them to myself for now because it does not pertain to this particular case. But in this case, folks, something's in the walls, and I don't think it's a mongoose. So until next time, you know what I like to say. Stay weird, everybody.